What's up, guys? Mason Brock Henderson here, and this is it, Season 2 finale, The Librarians. It was good. Um, I... It's kind of hard to really describe exactly how I feel about it. Um, I think the best way to describe it is I was enjoying it up until the end. Um, and then it just... I don't know. Um, let's talk about it. So, Prospero's plan is in place. They find out that he he's creating this forest. They need the Staff of Knowledge to stop him. The best way to do that, they find out from Flynn's. Uh, I kind of figured it was Flynn's note. Even when they first found out, like, Flynn probably wrote that. Even though it's like, well, it's not his hand. And he starts writing with his left hand, and oh, it's your left hand writing. And so they find out they have to go back in time to get the staff, and that's the only way to stop him. Yeah, it was pretty interesting at first. In fact, through most of the episode, it was very interesting. Flynn and Eve go back in time. The time travel orb that they use gets destroyed. Quick little note off to the side. I love the fact that in the time travel room, some really funny moments. Cassandra lifts up this one, like, it's all these time machines that they've stopped using because people shouldn't time travel. It could affect so much stuff. Blah blah blah. Time travel, mumbo jumbo. And that, I will say that time travel was done well in this. Most of the time, with time travel, things can get really dumb. You think about the Terminator movies. Like I've seen like two of them. I have seen T2, which everybody agrees is the best. But after that, it's like they just took this whole time travel thing, and now the timeline is so just messed up because time travel can get like that. The only really great time that I've seen time travel used is obviously Back to the Future. That being said, the DeLorean is in the time travel room, which is hysterical and amazing at the same time. Like Cassandra lifts up the thing just in time. I'm like, the DeLorean! That's awesome. At least I'm pretty sure it was. It looked like it. But the time travel in this episode is well done. They don't do anything stupid. They don't have like this random like, oh, this is how everything's gonna get solved through time travel because blah blah blah. Like even in what's it called? Edge of Tomorrow, Live Die Repeat, whatever you want to call it, the movie with Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt. Like, I love everything going on before, but at the end he destroys the spoilers. He destroys the main thing, and all of a sudden, like, its blood covers him, and all of a sudden, ta-da! The day restarts, and he's alive, and she's alive, and everything is good. Everybody's been. It was kind of like, well, that's just too easy, you know. That's just too easy for all of that to happen. And so sure enough, like, I was expecting something like that to happen, but it doesn't. They actually have a clever ending for the most part. Now, moving on, like I said, Flynn and Eve, they travel back in time, and they're trying to figure out how to stop Prospero. They're trying to find the staff so they can take it to the future and stop him. Then Moriarty shows up, which we had just seen Moriarty and Prospero in this forest or in this garden, which you find out he's actually creating the garden from back in the past. And Moriarty convinces Prospero to send him back. You find out that he is trying to stop Prospero from being created, but unfortunately he does it in a way that's not good. He tries to kill Shakespeare. And it's not exactly a great idea. Talk about messing up the timeline, which of course he doesn't care. He's a fiction. So anyway, so they're Flynn and Eve are talking to Shakespeare, and they're getting to know him. They save his life. Pretty funny. Moriarty tries to shoot him with a bow and arrow. Flynn tosses an apple in the way, which deflects the arrow, and so now Shakespeare has the bow or the arrow in the apple. I thought that was pretty funny. Just little connections here and there. Meanwhile, in the future, uh, Jenkins and the other librarians, I lost the name for a second. Jenkins and the other librarians are trying to figure out if there are any more clues, which they're reading Flint's note, and they realize that there's a watermark in this one thing. They open up the book and find out it's a watermark of this family. They find out it's the Wilmot House, something like that, which is where Flynn and Eve are in the past with Shakespeare. Uh, and so they're finding like all of these things. They see this one thing. It's the Flevin something, and they realize, oh, it's Flynn Eve, Fleeve or Flev, whatever. And so they realize that they're leaving them notes from the past. And then they find this table with all this stuff, and Jenkins realizes that it's an exorcism thing. And sure enough, in the past, we see Shakespeare is using this magic quill, which turns out to be the staff, just in quill form. And he starts writing, and he's writing not the Tempest, but Prospero's triumphant return. And so as he's writing, he's like speaking up on stage, and everybody's kind of listening. And it's like this really kind of intense moment where you realize this isn't right. Something's wrong here. And sure enough, he's writing, and summons Prospero through himself, which is a really interesting turn. I thought very, very well done, in my opinion, just how it's not Prospero was summoned by Shakespeare. Prospero, like, possessed Shakespeare. And so, I like that. It was a good twist. And so now Flynn and Eve team up with Moriarty to take him down. And so, like, they realize they have to drown the book and they have to break the staff. Which I was kind of thinking, well, maybe this is how they stop him. Like, because it didn't make sense that he would possess Shakespeare and nobody stopped him. I realized this is part of the timeline. Like, they actually went back and did this. And sure enough, that kind of is what they imply happens. That Flynn and Eve were there when it first happened, and so that's how Prospero was stopped the first time. Meanwhile, in the future, Jenkins is using all of these magical items along with the help of the librarians who are reading, I guess they were Shakespeare's words to bind Prospero, and it all connects to them. Like for Cassandra, she's reading about like facing death and accepting it. For Jones, it's finding out who you are and accepting who you are. No, wait, that was Stone. Jones is being a hero when nobody else, like stepping up to be the hero when nobody else expected you to be. And so it all connects to them, and they're reading these words to bind him. And sure enough, it binds Prospero, and he turns back into Shakespeare. Meanwhile, in the past, like all three of them, Flynn, Eve, and Moriarty, are fighting against Prospero. He's kind of taking down Flynn pretty easily with his staff. Eve is drowning the book off to the side, and he sees her and says, "If you're gonna drown it, do it properly." And zaps her. She falls in, and she's like under the water. While she's under there, the lady that Cassandra met when they were at the college is there with her, and all of a sudden, like, Moriarty jumps in because he sees it. Prospero stabs him with the staff and says, "I'm going to unwrite you," and Moriarty disappears. And it's kind of like, wait, what happened there? Like, hang on, did Moriarty just die? And it was kind of glossed over. It's like, what just happened to Moriarty? We did not talk about this at all. I don't know, it was just kind of out of nowhere. It's like, "I will unwrite you," and he disappears in a puff of smoke. It's like, okay, that was interesting. And then all of a sudden, Eve, like, pops out of the little pond she was drawing in the book and holding Excalibur, which Flynn had said they needed a powerful weapon like Excalibur to destroy the staff. And she's like, "Flynn," and Flynn's like, "Come here, Cal," and catches Excalibur. They fight. He destroys the staff with Excalibur. And yeah, that was pretty much it. So now Prospero's destroyed. Shakespeare's now back after Prospero being expelled in the future, and because of this, because Shakespeare's out of his time, is creating a paradox, which allows Shakespeare to be able to return to his own time. But because because that's the paradox, because Shakespeare needs to return to his own time to fix the paradox, Flynn and Eve can't go back to their time. It only allows him to go back. It would not allow them to return forward because that would create another paradox because now they're messing up the time loop. Like I said, it was done well. It really was done well. It's, time travel, I mean, like it makes sense to me. It's not like, but this is time travel mumbo jump. No, it does. That makes sense to me. The fact that he needs to return to his own time, but now technically they're back in that time and they have to stay there. Like that's the time that they travel to. They can't just jump forward through this paradox because the paradox is not related to them. And maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just me trying to put logic and sense into this. But it does make a bit of sense to me. A lot more sense than most time travel stuff, to be honest. So anyway, so Shakespeare goes back. They all kind of have like this moment of, well, it's been fun. They say their goodbyes. It's really kind of a touching moment. And I was kind of hoping that would be it. I wanted them to keep it that way, to be this is how we're ending this season because next season's going to involve them trying to get them back to the future. I wanted them to go that way. I really did. I wanted them to take that twist, to have the guts to do it. But they didn't. Stone talks to Jenkins about this one note that he saw about, oh, there's this locked room. You have the key, right? And he's like, what? That room's been locked forever. Flynn and I, or Mr. Carson and I have not been able to open it. He's like, there's a note on there. There's never been a note on there. They go there. It's a note that apparently was written a long time ago that wouldn't become noticed until the metal oxidized. And so, Jenkins, the key is in your guardian's name. And they're like, you don't have a guardian. Yes, I do. Eve Baird, and opens it up, and it's a statue of Eve and Flynn. And Cassandra says something, and then the stone breaks down, and it's them. They're there. They were the statue, and find out that Shakespeare wrote with his magic pen, turned them into a statue, and only to be released by Cassandra's voice, and blah blah blah. They're okay. They're all working together again. Yay! I'm gonna be honest. Like, I saw it coming, but I was hoping it wouldn't. It's one of those moments where it's so obvious that I didn't want it to be obvious. I wanted it to be a little bit of a twist. Don't end with such a, oh, happy ending, guys. We got him back. No, that's too easy. That's too easy. I wanted it to be harder. I wanted it to be a bit more of a cliffhanger. I don't know. Maybe I'm alone, and I have no doubt that people probably saw it coming. And I definitely did see it coming, but I didn't want it. I didn't want it to happen that way. I didn't want it to be this happy ending at the end where everything works out okay. Because they did the same thing in the first season. Like, the first season ended with, oh, Eve's dead. No, wait, I have this one thing that can heal her. And so they all go, and now they healed her, and now she's okay, and things are okay again. They did the same thing here. The only difference is that in the first one, it was like Flynn and Eve ended with they're going to go off on their own adventure while these three librarians stick together and do their own thing. In this one, it ends with them all kind of agreeing to work together, which I don't see Flynn sticking around just because he's kind of like I'm trying to think of the right word. He's kind of like a cheat sheet almost. Like, he's all of their best. Like, he's the art and history stuff like Jacob Stone. He has the math and science like Cassandra, and he is a bit of a thief. So he pretty much is all of them in one person, but they're individually all better than him. Like, in art and history, Stone's better. In math and science, Cassandra's better. In thievery, Ezekiel's better. But he has all of it put together, whereas they only have that one thing. So it kind of just feels like, you already have Flynn and these three put together. So to have him again is almost like a redundancy. Like he feels like a redundant character. And even at the beginning of the season, I was like, yeah, he's probably going to go off and do his own thing, and sure enough, he did. And so I don't know, seeing them try to convince us that he's sticking around is kind of like, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't. Um, Now, this has been renewed for season 3, so we'll talk a bit about the future of this show. Um, Obviously, they're probably going to do something along the lines of what they did in this season, where they're going to have a new baddie. They're going to have a new guy trying to take over the world, trying to do something to destroy something or other. Um, I see them doing all the same motions again in the third season, if they are going to do a third season, because let's be honest, this second season was kind of similar to the first season. You have a bad guy trying to, take over something. In the first season, it was the library. This time, it's Prospero trying to take over the world. You have Flynn going off and doing his own thing, while Eve and the librarians stick together and try to stop what's going on. Just different cases each week, and it all relates to the end when they've gone through these moments in the season that tie in to the end, when they're binding Prospero. So I don't know. It's just I was really disappointed to see it end the exact same way as it first season ended. It felt too much of the same. I wanted to see maybe a little bit less of a happy ending, maybe a bit more of a, oh well, they're gone, but maybe we found a way to get them back. So let's work on that. And so that's how this third season begins. It starts with them trying to get them back. Meanwhile, another bad guy has popped up in the shadows, and they're going to need even Flynn's help. So that they have to work even harder to get him back. And maybe in the third episode, or the end of the second episode, they finally find the way to get him back. But it also gives more power to this bad guy. I don't know. They could have done something clever with it, and instead they just went the same old route of, oh, everything works out in the end, and yeah, we're good. We're all good here. Nothing to worry about. And especially because they've already confirmed they confirmed the third season before, like, I don't know. I guess obviously they had already filmed stuff, so but if they were going for a third season, I really wish they had ended this one with a bit more of a cliffhanger to set up for the third season, and not just thrown in a happy ending at the end. Now, that being said, the happy ending was clever. Like I said, the time travel thing, it wasn't like just some paradoxical thing where, oh, time travel brings it back some way that we're not going to explain. No, it was explained. Like, they were in the statue for a long time. And I've seen this done once before in a cartoon I watched as a kid called Shaolin Showdown. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there was a moment where one of the characters went back in time but weren't able to return to the future because the time travel thing got broken. And so instead of like some stupid time travel bullcrap, it turns out he froze himself in ice for all those years until in the current day, like, something broke him out of the ice. And so same thing here, where they didn't use some stupid time travel mumbo jumbo to bring them back. They actually did it in a clever way. I wish that it had not been just thrown at the end just so we get our happy ending. I didn't want a happy ending. Sometimes you don't get a happy ending. But in this case they did, and I don't know. I didn't like it as much. Maybe you did. If you did, let me know in the comments down below. We can discuss it, talk about why I think you're wrong. But yeah, talk about it in the comments down below. Leave a like and subscribe. If you want to see more content, if you want to see more TV stuff, I have a lot of TV shows that I review. Yeah, a lot. And they're coming back. It's TV time. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next review. Peace out.